All right, we can get started. Good evening once again, everyone. Good to have you on this third day, third session of the bootcamp. So before we get into today's business, what we're going to cover today, we can start by addressing some of the challenges you guys were having in installing the tools and everything. If you're having a challenge, feel free to unmute your mic, and if you can share your screen or anything before we proceed. Okay, so I guess the problems you were seeing in the group have been fixed, so it's fine. Anyway, we'll also do a segment for the questions towards the end of the session, so that's good. Okay, Florence, you have installed WSL only in the language. Okay. Are you able to share your screen at the moment so that we can see if you can try to install, to run some command or anything? I think you can just search for Motoko in VS Code on the extensions. What is the Motoko extension? You can search for Motoko on the extensions, and you should see it, Motoko language support. Feel free to unmute your mic, Florence, if you would like to speak. Okay, it's fine. That's okay. Try to run just a command. You said you installed the language. By the language, you mean you installed dfx with that command. If you did that, okay, Ubuntu. Okay, so let me share my screen real quick so I can show you the next step. So you said you installed Ubuntu and WSL. So you need to come to these docs. So on the Internet Computer website, developer docs, go on build, installing tools. So if you have installed WSL and Ubuntu, you now need to run this command and install the Internet Computer CDK. That would be your next step to install the Internet Computer CDK. All right. So let's continue with our small project from yesterday, our Hello project. Right. So today we will touch some some concepts about Motoko, the language itself. Like variables, talk about mutability, how to comment, how to write types in Motoko, and etc. Right. So canisters on the internet computer, they use what is called the actor model, the actor. So we'll kind of explain in detail in a bit what an actor really is. But an actor is what will be holding your state, your code, and your state, right? Like it's the one that will be compiled to web to WASM or WebAssembly. That's the one that runs on internet computer. So yeah, like as if you remember, we said you can run multiple languages on the internet, different languages on the internet computer, right? Motoko, Rust, Python, and you name them. So by principle, any language that can compile to WebAssembly can be used on the internet computer, right? So what happens is when you write your code, it gets compiled to a WebAssembly module, and that's the one that gets deployed on the internet computer. So on the internet computer, these canisters use what is called actors. So this is like the isolated state or containers that will be holding your code and your state actors. So inside this actor now, that's where you write your code, and declare your state and everything else, right? So now back to Motoko as a language itself. If you're familiar with programming or if you are new, we have concepts called like variables, right? Which hold some type of data. Right? And one more important thing to those who are maybe coming from like Python or pure JavaScript, Motoko is a statically typed language, right? Typed languages mean you define types on like everything that you are writing, right? So you see that in a bit. So variables in Motoko, you can simply, let me remove this. So you can define you can simply define a variable like this with a let keyword. Let my variable hello world, right? With this, I have declared a variable, and the let keyword is important. Is the one you can use. So you can use the let keyword, or you can use var keyword. You will see what that means. Like for let, so okay, Elias, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask if you can zoom in your screen.
Or to zoom in
I
my
can hardly
screen.
see. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can you see now?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so this, I declared a variable, and so by default, these variables like this one, as I said, I didn't declare a type, but Motoko will kind of know which type it is itself. If it's like, as you can see, if I'm hovering here, it can detect that this is a text. But I can also define the type here, like a text, and that will also be valid, right? So that's how you declare variable, and you can also make this variable like make it a 0, right? And you can declare all sorts of variables. We had used hello. We can also use like let maybe what my boolean value, right? This is declaring a boolean variable. If you don't know what a boolean variable will touch when we are explaining types, right? And yeah, that's how you can go about declaring variables. And then we can now move on to mutability, because as you are stating variables in your code, sometimes you might want to change them afterwards. Sometimes you might not. So knowing what keyword to use, either the keyword let or the keyword var, will be important, right? So for demonstration, let me shorten this to like, let me just call this variable x, right? And then down the line, if I want to like reassign the value of x to change it, and let's say x, I want to put x as 1, it will give me an error, as you can see, expected mutable assignment. So this is where the issue of let and var are important. Let is immutable. So if I know I'm going to change this variable later, I need to use the keyword var, and that error is gone. This underlining is not an error, but it's telling me that I haven't used this variable. It's a feature from that extension that like help us to write clean code. So if I haven't used this, I can use this wildcard. I haven't used this variable, I can use this wildcard syntax like this, and then I will silence that error, that warning. It's not an error, it's a warning. So anyway, that's the important part about immutability. So it's just that thing where if you know you are going to change, use the keyword var. If you know, like, it's a constant, like it's a global constant, you just have it throughout the application, it's not going to change. You can use the word let, right? And then you will need to write comments in your code. Comments help us to like document our code as we are writing it, or document our code, or temporarily kind of deactivating some part of the code. So in Motoko, you comments are written like this, and then yeah, this will be a comment, right? So you can write a comment like this and then proceed to write some code, right? And if you would like to comment code, as you can imagine, you can also put comment like this, and then this code will be commented out. And you can also write comments in front of code like this. And yeah, another comment. Another comment, right? So that's how you write comments in Motoko. If you want to comment multiple lines and you don't want to like, so let's say you have a lot of codes. Let's you link through my ints. Let's see, floats. Anyway, let's say I want to comment out all this code, right? And I don't want to have, all those something bars, all these lines. I can comment out like this. And then I come to the next line. Right. So then I've commented a block of code. And I can also, if I were to write some form of documentation inside here, I would go about it like that. So that's it. That's about comments. An important feature. It will help you document your code, explain your whatever you are doing so that you can easily remember what you are trying to do, because it's very easy to forget what you are trying to do in your code, and also to help other people reading your code to see what exactly you're trying to do. And you'll be using them to document like that. So, and then now yes, Trust, go ahead.
Yes, I want to ask on the semicolons if they are mandatory or not.
Yes, they are mandatory semicolons. They are mandatory in Motoko. Motoko is actually strict on semicolons, except on your return types. If I actually remove the semicolon, I actually get an error here. It will literally ignore everything else and focus on that lack of semicolon. You can see there was this warning, but once I removed this, it actually forgot about everything else and then focused on that. Like this is not good code. So yeah, semicolons are important. When you finish a line of code, put a semicolon. A line or a block of code, put a semicolon. Unless it's like a return type. A return, it doesn't really need to have a semicolon. We will see that in the coming parts. So that's about semicolon, and then let's move on to types, right? So like any data you can have needs to have like a data type, right? In Motoko. So we have some primitive types like boolean, nat, int, float, text, and then some Motoko or internet computer specific types that are like principal. So we have those. And to define a type, you use a semicolon, right? So let's say I have I have my I have my variable x here. So as I mentioned earlier, if I just put the value here without specifying a type, Motoko will kind of assume the type itself without me doing it, right? It assigns the type itself, but I can now, but I can actually specify the type. So let's say I want this variable to be a float. I can specify the type float, and then I need to import it from the base library. And then now this is 0. Is now a float. So a floating point number, as you can know, is like a number with a decimal, right? And we have the Boolean type. Like my Boolean type again, you import it from the Motoko base library, like this. That's the Boolean type. Okay. So as you can see, types in Motoko are usually are written in capital letters like this. And we have NAT. So another important resource as you are going through this, let me show you the Internet Computer website. Right. So if you were to develop a docs, and then you go to Motoko, right? And then you go down. Where is Motoko base library? Where is it? Yes, Motoko base library here at the very bottom. Right. Here is where you can see types and data types that are associated for Motoko that you can use in your programs, right? So very important, this base library documentation. I find myself using it a lot because it really helps you, as I'm going to show you right now. So you have all these types that are available for you in Motoko, and the data types, right? We have the array, associated list, blob. This is a primitive type, a Boolean, a buffer, a data structure, a character. So yeah, I didn't mention a character. So now a character now is like when you are declaring a single character. Let's character, yeah, like this. So again, it's also available in the base library, right? Character. It's not text, so you might be used if you like know what is it. TypeScript might be used to string. In Motoko, we don't have string, we have text, and then we have now char for single characters. So here in the base library, you can see all these types and data structures. So say you're working on your project on your program, right? You're using some Boolean and you want to do some maybe typecasting. There's some logic you want to do, and you're not sure exactly what are the utility functions that comes with that type. This is where this base library documentation comes in handy. So let's say an int for example. Then you click the int, and then you can see here are the functions that are available for you on ints. You have absolute, you have to text. So let's say you want to print text, you want to debug text here. If you just pass in an int itself, it won't print, it will give you an error, right? But if you can convert it, you can convert it to text by using the to text function, right? Something like, let's say this is an int. Let's say this is text. Okay, so before, just to explain this, a car, you can, is like put in single quotes. That's a character. If it's a string, you should put double quotes. So that's important like that. So let's say I want to reassign. So let's say I want to reassign the value of my character here. I want to put 0 as my character. I will say like my character equals int dot to text x. Okay, I need to put an assignment. Yeah, this will convert the int to a text, right? So right now it will give an error. I'm just showing you like how a case for using these utility functions, right? If I just want to assign this x to, if I just want to like to reassign my character to the value of x, if I just pass in the int, it won't go because like the x is what? Is an int. So this is just typecasting. So the solution will be to do int dot to text and it will go through. Yes, Douglas, go ahead. Douglas, feel free to unmute your mic. If you are speaking, I think your mic is on mute.
Oh, I think it's fine. I was about to say I couldn't see your screen, but now I'm able to see it. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah, so that's basically how you do typecasting. And as you can see, if you want to poke around, you see we're importing from the base library. If we go to the base library, to like the int base library here, to the documentation, you can actually see these functions. We have the to text function here. We have the other functions, the min, max, and basically all these functions that are listed here. You can actually see them, how they actually work, and all this documentation here. You can actually So for those who really want to understand how everything is going under the hood and like really understand, yeah, you can do that. You can just control click on the type or data structure you want to see, and you will actually see how it works. And it will actually help you to know how to manipulate your data. All right. So that's for the best library, really. And we not only for types, we have some data structures like arrays. You're really familiar with arrays. This is how you can come and find the functions that are like exposed on an array. Okay, so let's move on to another important part, which like functions. Okay, right. So you might actually be wondering like, okay, so exactly do we define functions in Motoko? So a function in its simplest form, right? You use the keyword, func, and then the name of the function, my function, and the arguments, and then the function body, then semicolon. That's like the basic structure of a function, right? But as you can see, this is like the structure, but your function, for it to be useful, you will need to give it something, and it should return something, or just call it and then it should return something. So you can pass in the arguments to your function, let's say argument x, and then you give the type to argument. Let's just say a nut, right? So right now we have this function. It have an argument, but it's not returning anything. Then if we want our function to return something, this is how you specify the return type. Wanted to return a nut, and yes, we wanted to return a nut, a natural number. So you specify the return type like this, and then it will return, right? So yeah, that's a complete function right here. Keyword function, name of function, the input type, the return type, and then the function body. So, and then you're going to put a semicolon, or for the return type, you can put a semicolon, or you cannot. And you can also not put the actual return keyword itself as well. That can also work. It will just return the last value you have here in your function, right? So maybe let's give it a better name, this function. Let's say, let's go ahead, Trust.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get what you said on NAT.
Okay, NAT is it's a not a natural number type. So let's see, and not NAT. Yes, this is where the best library will be useful for you. Natural numbers with infinite precision. So this is a natural number. Most natural numbers okay, like this. So that's a natural number. So but then if you know beforehand, like my function is going to be is going to be working with only this size of natural numbers. This is where you can start using like NAT 16 for like 16 bits unsigned natural numbers, right? NAT 32, NAT 64, NAT 8. You know, if you know beforehand, like what's the size of the values you will be working with. So yeah, and then we also have integers, ints. This one will be will be with infinite precision, but you can also use int 16, int 32 if you know beforehand the size of the values you'll be dealing with, right? So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. That's how you'd find a function body. So anyway, we have our function here. And then let's try to deploy our canister. Let's see. So this is our very simple canister. If we deploy it, we should actually get something. Let's say if we get something. Okay, so that issue, I need to start my local replica tfx start. Then I need to deploy. So I'm deploying my canister. Okay, so for this demo, I'm going to remove the front end canister. We don't need it at the moment. Don't need the front end canister. Okay. All right, so we deployed our canister, and there's nothing, interestingly. So I haven't addressed like why there could be nothing, but I just want to hear if there's anyone who can have a good guess or who can know why we are seeing nothing here in Candid. We have our function, but we can't see anything. Let's go ahead, Killian.
Yeah, is it because you've not called a function?
No. Like it's the function. I'm actually trying to call the function, but I can't see it here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm wondering why I can't see it. Anyone else with a good guess? Even guys who have been playing with Motoko, here's your time to like show. why we are not seeing this function in Candid.
Is Elias the one who just spoke? There's another.
Elias, go ahead, please.
I think it's because the function doesn't have the keyword public, so I think it's private. It cannot show there.
Okay, yes, that's perfect. Yeah, that's the reason. So by default, if you just write the function with just function, it will be a private function, and you can see that's why we're even getting this. It's because this function is only available inside this canister. We can't use it anywhere else. So if we want to access our function outside of the editor, if you want it like from the candid or the command line, we need to use the keyword public. We need to use the keyword public. And then here it's giving this error because we need to import the nuts. Okay. Public return type. The shared function must return type. Okay, let's see. All right. So now if it's a public function, it also needs to be an asynchronous function. So you now need to also use the word async on your function, right? So one concept at a time, we'll do this, and then after this, we're also going to touch on another important concept. So now let's deploy our canister again. And then if I refresh, there we have it, increase. So if I put 4 and call, it will return 5. It will return 5, but it's kind of taking too long for me from how I'm seeing it. So that's another important part we are also going to address right now. So in Motoko, in these canisters on the internet computer, functions can either be update functions or query functions, right? Update functions or query functions. Query functions are functions that are not altering any data. They are just returning something, like fetching something. They are not changing any state. They are not like trying to modify any variable in any way, right? Update functions are functions that will alter the data of a function, or the data of a canister, right? So update functions are slower. Query functions are like very fast and kind of instantaneous, because update functions need to go through consensus, because we are on the blockchain, right? If you remember from when Mr. Confidence was giving the background on blockchain, we're talking about consensus, how the blocks need to agree with each other if a message is valid, right? So update functions are altering the state of a canister. So they need to go through consensus. The nodes need to agree if the message is valid. But query functions, they are not changing anything. So they don't go through consensus. They are quick, right? So that's why update functions are slower, query functions are fast. So again, by default, if a function is just like this, it's an update function. It takes a few extra seconds to run. If I call this, it's like 2 seconds or 3 seconds or so. So you can, for a function that is a query function, for a query function, you use the keyword query. With this now, data and computer will know that this function is not altering any data. It's just a query function, so it will execute faster. So if we deploy, we will see the difference. Here is asking me, so another important part. So I have this function, right? And then I am changing it. I have this function, I deployed it to the internet computer, my local internet computer, right? And then it was an update function, but now I'm changing it to a query function. So GFX is giving me this warning because the function that is deployed is different. The function that is deployed is an update function, is completely different from a function we are deploying right now, which is a query function. So there is an incompatibility that is happening here, right? So we are getting this warning. It's giving us this warning for us to be sure that, like, do we really understand and do we really want to proceed with what we want? Do we really want to change our function from being a public an update function to a query function? So this warning, it happens when you like change function from being a public, a private, an update to a query, or when you change a type, you also get this this warning. It's an incompatibility warning. You will see it often as you are developing your canisters. So I will go ahead and say yes. And then if I come here, then if I call this function, I put 4, then I query. You see, it's like it ran instantaneously, very fast. So it's very important to know. I also usually make this mistake of forgetting to put the query keyword, and my functions, which are supposed to be running fast, will end up running slow and like slowing the whole application down. So it's an important distinction to keep in mind as you are writing your functions. Is it a query function or is it an update function? If it's a query, make sure you put the query keyword. If you just write them all and forgetting to put this query, you find out all your functions will be slower, even if they should be fast. So another important part there. So yeah, that's basically like the architecture of functions. If they are now public, you now use the keyword async. They need to be asynchronous functions, right? And this is a canister. If you want other canisters to be able to call your canister, you can, there's another keyword you need to put, which is called shared. Public shared query function. So now this shared keyword is important. It will make it possible for other canisters to be able to call our own our own canister, right? So before we kind of move to the next segment, are there any other questions at this point? And yeah, the video is being recorded. If you forget some stuff, you will have the chance to come back and you have a look at it again. Okay, so that's a function. That's a function. Let's try to create a counter up and actually create a variable of some sort. So let's have a variable counter let's assign it to 0, right? And so we want a function to get the counter value. So it should be a public query. We don't want to change any state. The function get counter async, right? And then it should just return the counter. Okay. And then let's see, we want to set the counter, right? We want to set it to another value. Public. We want to set the counter, right? Or to increase it. We want to change the state. So this one is an update function. So we don't need the keyword query. So we just go with, okay, you're giving me an error. I forgot to put a semicolon. So, okay, public function, increment, let's just call it inc. What do we want? Okay. We want it to return nothing. Just want to increment the value. Plus equal 1. We have increased, where we just be increasing by 1. And then let's create another one, maybe to set public function set just call it value, not I want it to return value we would have set okay. Our time is overboard. Let's just run this function and deploy this canister. All right. Load. Get counter, get 0. Let's see, we increase. And let's see, get counter, we get 1. Let's set to 4. Get 4. Let's do get counter. We get 4, right? So there's just one important concept I want to cover here. So our counter looks like it's working as we want it to work. We can increase and we can query. You see the queries first. We can set it again to 0. We call it. Then we query, we get 0. Let's set it to 100. Yeah, we have 100, right? Let's do a small change to our function, to our code, right? So let's say, let's comment out this function for a bit. Let's say we're developing our code and then we want to deactivate this. For some reason, we no longer want the increase function. And then let's deploy our function again. Our canister, I mean. And then let's, yeah, the increase function is gone. Let's do get counter. We now get 0. Why? We think our canister should be storing the data. What we are saying, canisters store data. We have the variables here, but it's gone after an upgrade. What could be the reason? So the concept I'm just going to introduce and then we can edit the session is about stable storage. So by default, variables, their data is not permanent, is not persisted in the canister storage, right? It's temporary. So if you deploy a canister, the data is lost. But now if you want the canister to actually hold the value of to actually hold the state in the stable memory where it's now like an actual database of some sort. For variables like this, like nuts or int and whatnot, you can use the keyword stable. So this is the stable. This is a stable keyword which will tell which will tell the canister like this variable should be persisted in the canister state and should not be lost, right? So if I put a stable keyword like this, and then I deploy my canister, and then, right, I set to 56. I call it, right? And now let me do some changes. Let me bring this function back. So this commenting out and in, it's not doing really nothing to the state. It's just me trying to make a change so that the CDK can know that my code have changed so that it can actually do a real update. Because if I don't change anything in the code, it will not update. So that's why I was just commenting out and commenting in. So now let me deploy again. Right. Now, if I call the get function, it's still there even after deploying. Last time it was gone, but here it's still there. It's now because the data is now permanent, is now being permanently persisted in our canister. And stored in our Canister, and it's us who now have the control. We can now remove it when we want, or keep it how we want, just like a database, right? So tomorrow, so you might be wondering now, like, how exactly can I store scalable data? Like, this is just a simple counter. I mean, a real application will be having users, thousands, millions of users. How exactly should I do it? You will have some fields, username, password, username, emails, and what's not. So for that, we will touch on that tomorrow, for you to actually, to show you how to actually build kind of a real application per se, that is actually storing, that can actually store some real data, which we can actually use for a real production ready application. So I think that's it for today's session. There are homeworks which you will need to do, but I think for today, we'll give you the homeworks tomorrow for you to start doing the homeworks. I think for today and tomorrow during the day, just focus on trying to, if you haven't installed the tools, focus on installing the tools, right? And then if you have already installed, try to spin up your own Hello World program and rewatch this video. We'll try to post it quickly and see if you can repeat the stuff we're doing here and deploy your canister and spin it up and actually write some code with it. And then, okay, so I think there's one important thing which it won't take time, for those who just want to feel the test of actually writing some Motoko code and actually deploy something and test it out. This is what is called playground, Motoko playground. So Motoko playground is an environment that allows you to write some code and deploy it. But it's very volatile, like it doesn't hold your code for long. If you if you write your code here and you don't maybe save it here, it can wipe it away easily. And the canisters you deploy here on the playground, they are only live for like 20 minutes, right? They're only live for like 20 minutes. So this is a simple Hello World canister. You can deploy it like this. And then, all right, once it's deployed, you can say, hello, call, you'd say, hello, it will say whatever you say. So, Motoko playground. If you want to play around, like if you haven't yet maybe deployed or installed the tools and you just want to kind of play around with the Motoko, write some code and deploy and test it out, you can use this playground and play around with it. So yeah, as you can see, it's just a playground. It's for you to to have fun, test Motoko and whatever, but the important thing is for you to make sure you have the tools installed and you are running your code on your local machine, right? So that's it for today, guys. So tomorrow we will be touching on building kind of a real application with some users in it. That will be exciting. And then we will give you some homeworks for you to do, which you will submit. We will show you how to do the homeworks, how to submit them as well. And if you have already installed the tools, try to spin up your canister on your machine and watch this video and follow through. And if you haven't installed your tools, try to make sure you install your tools, and then tomorrow we are on the same page. So any questions before we close, before we call it a day? Yes, Francis, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in the Telegram group. I don't know if you have been added there or if there is a group WhatsApp.
Oh, you wanted? Okay, let me send you the link.
I've been accessing the shared audios or recordings. That's it.
But the recordings I also sent in the Zambia group. But anyway, yeah, Mr. Confidence shared the Telegram link in the chat. Join the our Telegram group there. But the videos I shared in the, I'm sharing both in both groups, in our Telegram channel and also in Zambia Web3 group. So you won't miss it.
I think I'm not in Zambia. Is it Web3 group? I think I'm not in there. If someone can add me there.
Yeah, if someone can have the link to Zambia group, please paste it in the WhatsApp group, paste it in the chat. Zambia WhatsApp group. Web3 community Zambia. Yeah, that one. So I think you sorted now, right? So thank you, guys. It looks like we don't have any more questions. Okay. Let's meet again tomorrow. Play around with these examples. Try to make sure you install the tools. If you have challenges, okay, go ahead, Lucy.
Hi, Enoch.
Hi.
Yeah, I missed the form on Monday, the registration form. I don't know if you can help on that.
Registration form. Which registration form?
The register form, the attendance register form
Okay.
for the first day.
I think Mr. William, who, if it's around, is taking care of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure about that, but I think Mr. William or Tim Motley.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, guys. Have a good night. Let's catch up tomorrow. Happy coding.